If you've been following this channel for the last few years, you will know that The Boys is my favorite superhero show on TV. And one of my favorite relationships in the show just happens to be the dynamic between both Butcher and Homelander. And what I mean by that is, at the beginning of this series, it really was hatred, where it was at first a one-sided hatred on Butcher's part, where Butcher absolutely despised Homelander in every way, shape, and form. And then as Homelander got to know Butcher, it became a mutual hatred, where Butcher was essentially everything Homelander despised about humanity, which is as a human thinking that they were on the same level as he saw himself as, which is essentially a living god. But season three, in my opinion, changed that dynamic slightly. And then recently, with the first three episodes of season four, we're seeing a continuation to that change of that dynamic. And what I mean by that is in season three, you had Homelander come to Butcher's house. Not only did he arrive at Butcher's house, but he doesn't break in, he doesn't threaten Butcher in any way, shape, and form. He simply just lands on his patio. And Butcher lets him in. And they really have a sit down and a heart to heart understanding about where they're both coming from, essentially, which is for Homelander, it's realizing that out of all the people he surrounds himself with, the Deep, Noir, A Train, all of these people, Ashley, all these people are essentially sycophants. They are terrified of him. As a direct result, they will never tell him the truth or go against any of his orders, even if there's a better option on the table to get the job done. But Butcher, on the other hand, is the one person that's going to tell it to Homelander like it is, because he does not care. Like Homelander told him when he was sitting in the apartment, he said, I can pull off your arms, I can pull off your legs, and I can pull off your head, and you won't give a shit because you're essentially just ready to die. You are ready to throw hands with me, even though you do not have powers in any way, shape, or form. And I think this formed the core of a level of respect on Homelander's part, where you've seen it before when people stand up to Homelander and they aren't terrified of him, he's amused. Like it catches him off guard a little bit because he is so used to when he enters the room, everybody's blood pressure essentially spiking to a ridiculous degree. But in season four, we have a scene where Butcher basically sneaks in and he speaks to Ryan about basically getting Ryan away from Homelander, getting him back with the head of the CIA so that he can live essentially a comfortable farm life somewhere and then emerge from the shadows as essentially this world's new equivalent to Superman, or essentially Superboy, a good superhero with all of the powers and the skill sets. And Homelander comes in and he's not angry, he's not upset. It's just one of those things where it's one of your boys who's constantly doing ignorant shit and you catch them doing ignorant shit and you're not even low key disappointed anymore. You're more or less expecting that this is the type of things that he's going to do when he is not being supervised in any way, shape, or form. And the interesting thing is he x-rays Butcher. He doesn't have to. He's used to Butcher. He knows that if he tortures or kills Butcher, it doesn't matter because Butcher's essentially ready to die. But he x-rays Butcher, and there's almost this look on his face of disappointment on a certain level, where he made this deal with Butcher, which was scorched earth to the death. Both of them would essentially fight until one of them dies. And of course, Homelander knows that without the Temp V, Butcher is most certainly going to be the one to die. But he's interested in exactly how Butcher is going to try to even the playing field in their fight in his attempt to kill him. And there's almost this slight sense of loss where he looks into Butcher's brain and he pauses and he goes, "Oh, you don't have that much time left. You've only got about 6 months." And then he brings up the fact that they're not going to be able to have their final bout. Now, in regards to most of the other things that Homelander deals with on a daily basis, he does not give two flying shits about any of the superheroes or any of the things that they have going on or anything that's essentially going on in people's lives in general. All he cares about is me, 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 me. But he brings up this scorched earth final bout between both him and Butcher because for him it's something that he's looking forward to. Because out of all of the many decades that he's essentially been alive and he's been operating as a superhero, I feel as though for Homelander, he can turn to Butcher and see Butcher as a bad guy, as his villain, but at the exact same time as his friend. Which I always remember that one scene from Zack Snyder's Watchmen, where the comedian breaks into Moloch's room and he's breaking down and he's essentially crying. And Moloch is terrified. He's scared shitless of the comedian. In fact, the comedian might kill him. And the comedian says something along the lines of, I can't even go to the people who I would think of as friends because the closest thing to me, to a friend, is you, my arch nemesis. And what does that say about me as a person? Which perfectly, perfectly sums up Homelander's relationship with Butcher, which is he can actually sit down. And it's one of also the reasons why he goes to recruit Sister Sage, because he needs somebody like that on his side without having to go to Butcher. But it's one of those things where if him and Butcher are ever in a room, he can actually have a conversation, a one-on-one human conversation with another person without having to worry about Butcher trying to basically bend over backwards and turn himself into a pretzel in order to appease him in some way, shape, or form. It's one of the reasons why I believe that Butcher is not going to kill Homelander at the end of this. He may be there for Homelander's last moments. He may be there when whatever it is that they use to take out Homelander gets activated and takes him out. But I don't see Butcher being the one to pull that trigger. And I also don't see Homelander being the one to essentially go out of his way to kill Butcher. Not the way in which he was going out of his way to kill Huey, because Homelander was on Huey's ass. The second that sweat dropped on his shoulder, oh, Huey turned into Mario because his ass was running down them pipes as fast as possible to get the hell up out of there. If it wasn't for the fact that A-Train is kind of flip-flopping on what side that he's going to be on, and he was there to save Huey in that moment, Homelander would have definitely turned Huey into Supersonic 2.0 in some way, shape, or form. But let me know what you guys think about the relationship and the dynamic between both Homelander and Butcher. Do you still believe that there's a level of mutual respect now between the both of them, or do you think that the mutual respect is kind of lopsided, where for Butcher it's 100% pure hatred still, but it's cordial hatred now, and for Homelander it's a level of amusement and this person might be trying to kill me, but he's also like the closest thing to a friend that I've probably got. Comment down below, let me know. If you're new to the channel, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.